As I was screaming about climate change and the end of the planet.
The devastating toll of climate change and its existential threat to all of us, and is the ultimate threat to humanity. Let's face reality. The climate crisis doesn't care if you're in a red or blue state. It's an existential threat. Climate change is literally an existential threat to our nation and to the world. I've toured many sites across the country that clearly show climate change is the existential threat to humanity. The existential threat to humanity.
But if that's true, then explain this. The AP is reporting on a new study that finds despite Earth apparently warming at a record rate, there is no evidence of climate change accelerating.
No evidence of climate change accelerating. Joining us now to help make sense of all of this is Center for Industrial Progress founder and CEO and author of Fossil Future, Alex Epstein. Alex, what the heck is going on here? I mean, how can we say that Earth is warming and again, there's no sign of climate change? Explain this to us.
Yeah, so it's I highly recommend people read this story in AP or this alleged news because it captures everything that's bad about thinking. So we can go over a bunch of it. But the part you asked about is basically there was an unusually large amount of warming last year. And what they're actually admitting is it's not because we discovered something new about CO2 emissions leading to more warming. It's other factors. And what this highlights is there are multiple different factors that can affect the temperature. I think human impact is one of them, but there are other impacts as well. So that's basically translating that part of it. But the part that I found most notable is after they go into that a little bit and barely explain it, then they just bring in a bunch, and they say an unrelated researcher basically says climate change is really bad. And what she says is this highlights something like human lives are at stake. And yet far more people die of cold than from heat, and far fewer people die of climate-related causes than ever, thanks in large part to energy from fossil fuels. So it's not an existential threat. It's actually an existential success. We have 1/50th the climate death rate that we did 100 years ago, and people have to wake up to this.
It was the same response in the LA Times when the LA Times wrote this long story that we covered here about the Joshua trees being raised for a solar farm. 100-year-old Joshua trees, and they turned around and one of their climate columnists said, well, and it was a justification for raising and destroying these ancient precious trees in the desert because the climate change is going to kill them anyway. So you're going to save more by killing some now.
Oh yeah, I didn't follow that story too closely. But one thing that's notable about this movement is this broader movement of this green movement. It's really not about climate impact. They claim that they're just against climate impact, but they're really against any kind of impact on nature. And this is why they oppose not just fossil fuels, but they oppose nuclear, they oppose hydro, they ultimately oppose transmission lines for solar and wind. And so I think of it as a really anti-human movement that we should stay away from. And instead, we need to think of all these issues from a pro-human perspective. Let's carefully weigh the benefits and side effects of different forms of energy. And, the reason one of my books is called Fossil Future is because I think if we do that, we see that fossil fuels are going to be the future, and that's going to be a good thing.
Yep.
What would be good also is if they just stopped lying to us.
Yep.
Alex Epstein, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.